Reading bar graphs. The bar graph below represents the number of people who said their favorite pet was a fish, dog, turtle, or cat. So the way a bar graph works is that the horizontal or x-axis, left to right, has categories. In this case, fish, dog, turtle, or cat. And then on the vertical or y-axis going up and down, we often have like a frequency count or a percentage. So to read the bar graph, we just look at the category we're interested in, follow it all the way up to the top, then to the left of the vertical axis to kind of get the count. So for example, one question might be is, what animal was the most popular pet? And how many people liked that animal? So another great thing about bar graphs is that you could quickly visualize data. So rather than them telling us that dogs had X many votes, fishes had this many votes, I could quickly look at the bar graph and I already see who's at the highest. I could already see who's at the lowest very quickly. So when they asked me what animal was the most popular pet, I turns right to that green because I could see it reaches higher than any of the other bars. And so I know the most popular pet was a dog. Then they say how many people liked that animal. So you could look at that bar for dog, the green bar, and then you kind of follow that across vertically. And notice it doesn't have the tick mark exactly for that. And that's because many graphs won't. They'll kind of just pick a nice amount of numbers to jump by. So in this case by 5, 5, 10, 15, 20. But we see it's kind of roughly in the middle. So as long as you make a nice, good, educated guess, maybe you're like, well, that's 15, that must be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and maybe you might even say it's 18. As long as it's something close and in the ballpark, your instructor probably won't have a problem with it, unless there's like, it's very clearly indicated there might be check marks, but without labels. So for example, from 10 to 15, I might 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then you could do the counting if they had those check marks already there available for you. Great. So we could see how many people liked that animal, and we said 17. Then what animal was the least popular? So I could see fish in red here, and that goes straight across, and that one is at 10. So fish, and 10 people said that that was their favorite pet. Let's look at one other bar graph just to give another example from a real life study. This bar graph came from the news website The Markup, and they reported on predictive policing, which is a way for data to be used for police departments to know where to send the most patrols. Because based on that data, they figure that there is most likely to be crimes committed in these certain areas. And so it breaks it up into jurisdictions, and the bar graph describes jurisdictions with the most predictions, so the top 5% of predictions of crime, those with the middle 5% predictions, and those jurisdictions with the least amount of predictions. One other thing is the key. It tells us what each of these bar graph colors represents. And so it's a little bit more of a complicated bar graph, and that's why I wanted to take a look at it. So we look at the blocks with the most predictions. We see that, for example, there are 25 jurisdictions where in the top 5% where blacks were the predominant ethnicity in that jurisdiction. There was about maybe 12 or 13 jurisdictions that were in the top 5% of predictions where Asians were the dominant population. About 21 or 22 where Latino were the dominant ethnicity, and about 7 where white was. Kind of going down to the next block of bars, we see in the middle 5% about 8% of Asian predominant jurisdictions, maybe 11 or 12 where black were the predominant community, about 15 for Latino, and about maybe 19 white communities were in that in that middle 5%. Going down to the next part, we see that about 4% of Asian communities had the fewest predictions by the predicted. About maybe 6 black jurisdictions had were in the bottom 5%, maybe 7 Latino districts, and over 25, maybe 28 jurisdictions that were in the bottom 5%. Were predominantly white neighborhoods. And so you could answer all sorts of questions on where predictive policing is sending police. That's it.